Good afternoon, Tiddlywinks. What even is a Tiddlywink? I know it's a game, but like, is that it? Is that like the only thing that it's come from? We're gonna do the Midyear Freakout Tag. Let's talk about some books. What is happening with my hair? I'm just gonna have to deal with it. This angle, I thought it looked fine in the mirror, and then I turned the camera on and it's like, it looks weird. I don't know what's happening. Why is it called Freakout Tag, by the way? I get the Midyear tag, but not the Freakout. Of course, the first question is, what is the best book that you've read so far? And I could not pick just one. I had to pick two, although last year I picked like 5. But let's talk about these two books, Woodworking and Atmosphere. And can you believe that neither of these are speculative? Who am I? If these weren't published, my number one would have been speculative, and you will see it later in this video. But let's talk about these in the order I read them. Woodworking, for those of you who don't know, this is pretty much slipping under the radar at this point, and I will not shut up about it accordingly because it deserves to be read. This is Emily St. James's debut novel. Emily St. James is a culture critic, TV critic that I've been following for almost 20 years on the internet, which is wild. She is trans. She came out 5-6 years ago. I can't remember. This book is her debut, and it is about a woman who has not come out yet. She is a teacher in a school, and the way that she plays with the form of the novel in order to evoke feeling is just masterful. The two main characters, though, are this woman. Erica is her name. We don't learn her dead name. It's blacked out every time it appears. And her sections are told in the third person, which is appropriate thematically. And then the second main character's name is Abigail, and she is a 17-year-old trans girl who has been out for years at this point. But because she's the only trans person that Erica knows, they have this reverse mentor friendship where, and it's a very queer thing, that they have like a trans mom or a gay mom or a gay dad, meaning that they're like sort of a mentor to you as you come out and you navigate coming out to society at large and to your family. Erica is like totally flailing around, and the very first person she confesses to is Abigail. And Abigail is just a little shit. She is a teenager. There's this lovely dynamic that they have where the teacher is the student and the student is the teacher, but also Abigail is still 17 years old and Erica is still 35 years old. So there is a push-pull there, because even though Abigail seems like she has it together, she doesn't emotionally fully. It was just lovely. It was funny. It was heartwarming. It was so good, and everybody should read it. I'm gonna sneeze. Oh, you know what? Both of these are queer. Everything I love is either queer or speculative, and these are queer. Okay, so let's talk about Atmosphere. Atmosphere is Taylor Jenkins Reid's her 9th book. It is her best book, in my opinion. I don't even want to talk about it. It follows Joan in the 80s who wants to become an astronaut, and the process, like we see, the novel is split in between present day timeline when there is a disaster in space unfolding, and Joan is Capcom, which is the person that talks to the astronauts while they're up there, and the astronauts are trying to survive up there after something has happened. And then we also go back in time to before Joan was an astronaut, and we go I think it's 4 or 5 years that we spend with Joan and the other astronauts and Joan's family and friends. We just see what her life is like as she essentially comes into her own. This is a queer awakening novel, which is very like a coming of age novel, because you can come out and realize that you're queer at any point in your life. It's like a second adolescence, basically. But it's also like lovely because it's sort of like the way this beautifully portrays the optimism that still exists at the heart of the human condition is so lovely. Joan is such a good person, and the way she sees the world is like beautiful. Shut up, that's cheesy. I don't care. The way that what space means to her, like there's a reason the cover of the novel is Joan looking up as she watches a rocket take off like this is a key scene in the novel, which that always makes me happy when the cover artists actually like read the book and whatever. Anyway, I loved it so much. The subtitle is a love story, but it's not just a love story about like a romantic love story, although that's in here. It's also a love story, familial love, and the love of life, and just the love of your job, the love of just stuff, okay? Just, it's really good. And I don't want to hear about it if anybody doesn't like it. By the way, apologies, because I decided I was going to film this right now. And both my washer, dryer, and my air conditioning are going. But I was hot and I'm doing laundry. So what do you want from me? All right, next question. Best sequel you've read so far this year? And that would be A Drop of Corruption by Robert Jackson Bennett. This was as good, if not better, than A Tainted Cup. This is a fantasy mystery series set in another world, so it's high fantasy. And the world that they live in, it's like a sort of, it's biopunk. I mean, that's why I used it for the biopunk square on my Our Fantasy Bingo challenge. The two main characters are Din and Anna. Anna is the Sherlock Holmes, figure, and Din is the Watson, although he is faring much better than Watson has in popular culture. That people have this idea that the Watson has to be stupid, but he doesn't. He just has to be the way in. And Watson isn't stupid, so that's just like a misnomer. It's like something that character archetype has transformed into, but that's not how it was meant to be. Justice for John Watson. The combination of the world building, which is fascinating. I mean, both the world itself and the intricate social stuff that he's built into this world, and the murder mystery plot that actually delves more into the social aspects of this world, and what seems to be an overarching thematic thing for like where this is going in book 3, just is very pleasing. Lived up to the sequel, if not exceeded it. Next question. New releases that you haven't read yet but want to. First up is a book called A Far Better Thing by H.G. Perry. I just read the book that she released in November, so I'm not going to get to this for a while, but I definitely want to get to it soon. The reason I haven't yet, well, A, I don't own it, and I haven't got it from the library yet. Not sure which I'm going to do yet. If I find it on sale at Barnes & Noble, I might just get it, or if I get points, or if I find a nice copy on Pango. I was hoping Aardvark might do it, but they didn't. But what this is a fantastical retelling of A Tale of Two Cities, which is is it my favorite Dickens? It's top 2 at least. Still one of the best endings in literature. But I have not read A Tale of Two Cities since high school, so I want to reread it, and I've had the audiobook checked out for like 4 months now from the library, and I just haven't gotten around to it. So I can't even think about reading this until I reread A Tale of Two Cities, because A, it's been too long, and B, I would like to see what the thematic resonances are between the two books. And then I really want to read, I just got this from the library, my hold just came in, the Grimoire Grammar School Parent-Teacher Association. This just sounds like so much fun. I enjoyed this author by Caitlin Rozakis. I enjoyed her debut, Dreadful, very much. It was sort of a comedic, satirical fantasy on the cozier end, but not cozy fantasy. And this is about some parents who learn that their kindergartner, is a werewolf. And all of a sudden the world opens up to them where they realize that there's a whole bunch of supernatural children and they all go to this school. But it follows from the parents' perspective because it's about like the parent-teacher association at this school. I'm not sure exactly what the plot of it is, but I assume it's going to be a fun time. Excited to read this, hopefully soon. Then I've got, where are you? A book that I've been like eyeing. Every time I see it on my shelf, I'm like, when? And that's The Raven Scholar by Antonia Hodgson, or Antonia, I'm not sure which still. By the way, I tried to look up how to say James Islington, and nobody knows. He has not said. I think it's Islington, but I don't know for sure. Islington is how they say the city or the district of London. So that's what I'm going with, but I keep hearing people call it Islington, and I'm like, I don't know if that's it, guys. Anyway, Raven Scholar, I don't really know what this is about, but look at this cover, and I've literally seen nothing but 5-star reviews for it. So that's all I know, but I'm super excited. And then the last one that sort of, I mean, there's just so many new releases that I really want to read, but these are the ones that I'm most excited about at the moment as I made this list. The next one is very silly, and it's Detective Auntie by Uzma Jalaluddin. And I just read one of her romances earlier this year, and I liked the plot of it better than the romance. So that bodes well for this. This is about, well, I don't know the specifics, but it's about an auntie who solves mysteries. And that's all I needed to know. I'm waiting for the audiobook to come in from my library on this one. So those are some new releases that I'm excited about. Most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I managed to keep it to, did I do 3? Yeah. I managed to keep it to 3, and I really sat and I thought, and I soul searched, and I said, okay, which ones are you like dying to read? And it just so happens they're all fantasy sequels. The first one is, of course, The Strength of the Few by James Islington, which is why I was mentioning it. And also because this is right here, The Will of the Many, the sequel to The Will of Many. I'm really hoping they issue one of these dust jackets to cover the book. So when I get it, because I don't like the new cover. I don't like it. There's something about it that my eyes just slide right off of it, and the columns are so striking. Ah, shit. God. I'm still hot. I should have turned my AC down more. Hold on. I'm sweating. Why am I so sweaty when I do videos? Okay, so but anyway, The Strength of the Few, which is the sequel to The Will of the Many, which is about it's an epic fantasy where the premise is that in this world, people cede their will magically to others. So what you have is a hierarchical society, which is why they sometimes call this the hierarchy. And the people at the top are exponentially more powerful than the people at the very bottom who cede their will but do not get will from anyone else. And these are the poor, the downtrodden. And it is like the perfect metaphor for inequity in social systems. I can never get over it. But it also happens to be like a magic school story, and other weird stuff is happening, and the main character is a prince whose country was conquered, so he's a prince of nothing. And I don't know, it's really hard to explain, but when you go into it and when you read it, it's just really fun. And I'm hoping the second book, especially with that crazy ending, really lives up. And then the next up that I'm really looking forward to is All Hail Chaos. We still don't have a cover for this, even though it's coming out in September, which is wild to me. I don't know why. This was one of my favorite books last year, Long Live Evil. This is the sequel. I think it's a duology. I'm not sure. It might be a trilogy. I hope it's a trilogy, but I wouldn't be mad if it was a duology. I loved Long Live Evil when I read it last year, and I don't know if I've told you this, but my book club hated it. Well, they didn't hate it, but they all gave it 3 stars, and I'm like, what is happening? Literally, what is happening? I don't understand. Were you guys all like in just terrible moods when you read this? Hold on. I'm gonna fix my hair. Okay. I brought Pippin. He was in the corner, like crying. Like he thought he saw something, but there was nothing there. Why does it always look different in the mirror than on the camera? I don't understand what's happening. Okay, and then the last book that I'm really looking forward to is Human Rights by Juno Dawson. This is the last book in her trilogy, and honestly, I think this is the one I'm the most excited for. I've bought 2 copies of it already. They're on their way to me. Well, not yet, but soon. The UK version I bought from Blackwell's, and then I pre-ordered the Fairy Loot edition as well, so I can have matching copies. I just love like the witchy feminism and the friendship, and like the magic itself is really cool for me. I don't know, I just love it. It really works for me. There were others, like I said, but those were the 3 that I decided to fixate on. This is gonna be a weird video, I'm sorry. I just woke up from a nap, by the way. So, biggest disappointment. I had a lot of disappointments when I was trying to make a list, but then I sat and I thought, which one are the biggest? And those happen when you're really excited and tickled by a premise, and the premise is utterly not delivered on. And I have 2 for those, and the first of those is The Queens of Crime by Marie Benedict. This, I should have known better. I should have known better than to expect anything else from this author, because I've never read a book from her that wasn't just mediocre. But in this case, the mediocreness was compounded by the fact that I wanted, like, I had a book in my head that I imagined that this could be, and it wasn't there. It was so utterly unclever and mundane and dull, and the characters were insipid and they just, like, this is a book about the greatest minds of the golden age of mystery, the women writers of mystery, and it was the exact opposite of what it should have been to portray those clever, like, ferocious, tricksy-minded women. And it was just dull. It was like, let me take this premise and then just pound it into the ground until it's so flat that there's nothing to be found there anymore. Dorothy L. Sayers and how do you say her name? Ngaio Marsh, Agatha Christie. There was 2 others. I haven't read from them, so I don't remember. But I mean, seriously, these women solving a mystery, that should have been an ace in the hole, and the ball landed so far off the green, an alligator ate it. Okay. And then the second one that I'm most disappointed in, meaning like I was most anticipating it, is Behooved by M. Stevenson. I think I tricked myself into thinking that all books about men who turn into horses are going to be fun and amazing and a really great time. And this was none of those things. It was kind of terrible. The world built, nothing about it was up to snuff. Nothing. The character work was poor. The prose was fine. I guess that's like the one thing I can say. The scenes flowed pretty well, but the stuff the characters would say to each other, the world building was asinine. The very premise, like My Lady Jane, which is what my previous, there's 2 previous man to horse experiences, and one of them is My Lady Jane. The other one is a fanfic, a Captain America fanfic, where they're in a fantasy world and Steve is turned into a horse. But it's so good. It's actually really, really good. Hit me up if you want to know what fanfic that is, because it's really good. I said that already. I reread it after the last time I talked about it, and it's still good. And My Lady Jane is just a goofy, tongue-in-cheek, smart, good time. And that's what I was expecting from this book. So maybe I was unfair to it, but also, even if I would have had no expectations going into this of what it was going to be, it still would have flopped like a soggy dead fish. Biggest surprise, I have 2. So number 1, my hair sucks today. Why does my hair suck? It looks good in person, but when it's not translating to camera. Every time I look in the mirror, I'm like, dang, you're having a good hair day. And then I look and it's not good. Sorry, I'm being very vain. Also, when I wake up from a nap, I tend to be more effusive and just less filters. So for the next prompt is a biggest surprise, and that is, I have 2. So number 1 is Murder at Gull's Nest, which is a book I just read. And this is a surprise because I previously read The Night Ship from Jess Kidd, and I really did not like it. I gave it 2 stars and said, I'm not going to read from this author again. She's not for me. But then she was coming out with a mystery, a whodunit, and I was like, well, I love a whodunit. And oh my God, the main character's an ex-nun. And it was like, this book was written for me. So I had to check it out, and then I ended up giving it 5 stars. Everything about it was well done, but my favorite part was the main character, Nora Breen. She was so feisty, and oh my God, I have a hive. What did I do? What did I touch? I have a hive. Why do I get single hives on my arm? I am out of hydrocortisone. I think I have to go buy some. Well, as long as it's just one, we're okay. Fuck my hair. That's even worse. Okay, I don't care. I don't care. Oh my God, why am I so sweaty? I'm sitting here sweating and yelling at the camera. I loved it. I loved Murder at Gull's Nest. You should read it if you like whodunits and historical mysteries. It's historical. Oh, and then The River Has Roots. So everyone and their mother has been yapping nonstop about Amal Almotar's other book, This Is How You Lose the Time War that she wrote with Max Gladstone. I still haven't read that. Okay, I'm reading it later this year when they issue the new special edition that's coming out. I want that copy. But I was like intrigued when her debut novella was coming out, and then I happened to see that it was an audio ARC available, and Macmillan Audio always grants my ARC requests, so I requested it. And when I say surprise, I mean like genuine straight up surprise when I was listening to this. It is so rare to actually feel pure surprise nowadays. The older you get, the harder it is to have that feeling. And when I say to you, the surprise of the singing on the audiobook just set my entire body into goosebumps, that is what I'm talking about. So it's surprising that I enjoyed this as much as I did, but it was the audiobook, and specifically the singing, the folk songs on the audiobook, that did this for me. I was enchanted. And if you are going to read this, you need to do the audio. You need to do the audio. It was originally going to be audio only, and then they decided to do a print run as well at the same time. My hair! Why am I doing this? Oh, I'm so mad right now. See if I can fix my effing hair. That's so hot. Why am I overheating? Is this perimenopause? Many pause? Anyway, love this. Love the audiobook. Big surprise. This next question I had a hard time with, and it's a new favorite author. So normally when I get this, like I find a new author, then I start to like read all of their stuff all in a row, but that haven't really happened to me yet this year. And the best new author I've read is Emily St. James. So I'm picking Emily St. James because I think that she has a lot of excellent books ahead of her in her writing career, and I will be there for all of them. So that's my answer on that one. The next prompt, I have no answer for. I'm too asexual this year. The asexuality is overwhelming. I do not have a newest fictional crush. I don't even remember what I said last year. Did I have one last year? Oh, I did. What's his face from Funny Story? Yeah, he's good. I don't know. I'm not connecting to people romantically, or like that new happy, like I love you kind of feeling, even if it's just like a platonic crush, you know what I mean? I haven't had that either. So most of the books I've been loving, I have loved for different reasons. There's no crush feelings. I got nothing. Okay, new favorite character. I already talked about Nora Breen, Murder at Girl's Nest. I think she could only get better. I hope that she doesn't become a flat character, because watching her blossom after her time in her order of nuns and just live in the real world and become a detective and throw shoes at policemen and torture. There's this scene where she takes a suspect that she needs to get answers from in his big fancy car, and she sort of like carjacks him. This would not fly today, but it was the 1950s, so nobody came after her for this, but she takes him in his car and drives like a maniac around town, and every time he refuses to answer her, she threatens to destroy the car a little bit. And it's so great. Similarly, I think I could slightly, like, if I feel like more exposure to these two women could maybe turn them into fictional crushes, but they're both unruly women. And the second one is Viga from The Devils. And if you've read The Devils, you're like, what the fuck, Ashley? Viga was a delight, an utter delight in this book. She was absolutely nasty, but there was like this really sweet, like heart of gold thing at the center of her that contrasts so well with her vulgarness and her utter violence and how much people are scared of her. It was just like, hey baby, don't do that. Like sad and funny at the same time. And I will show you a picture of her later, but this book is going to come up again. So, but I wanted to talk about Viga. I loved her from the minute she came on page, and she was my favorite character the whole time through. I don't know what that says about me, because really, if you've read this, she's so gross. But she's so conflicted, and she's got this like moral quandary at her center, but also she's still like a kind person. And hey, Pippin, what did you do? Vega and Nora, the unruly women. Love them. Of course, this, the ex-nun is like here on the unruly scale, and Vega's like here. She maxes it out. Oh, goodness. Okay, so this prompt is a book that made you cry. There's one that I'm reading right now that I already cried during the book, but I haven't finished yet, so I didn't want to use it. I'm only talking about books I read through January through June. So anything in July, there's some stuff I wanted to include, but I couldn't because it's in July. Anyway, I cried all throughout Slayers, Every One of Us. I started counting how many times I was crying because there was just this like chemistry, that there was this like feel to this book that really just hit me. And I don't cry at things that other people cry at. I cry at weird stuff, usually stuff that's bittersweet or stuff that is like, I don't know. I can't explain it. Okay, the power of story. 6 times I cried during this book. So that is my what was I going to say? I don't remember. Anyway, this is a fun book. You should read it if you like Buffy. And of course, Buffering the Vampire Slayer, which they are in the middle right now. They just started season 2 of Buffy. They're going back through and they're calling it once more with spoilers. So if you want to get in on the podcast and not listen to their first run, where they did it without spoilers, the second one is spoiler filled. So, and I've been having a great time listening to it. And this book made me cry because, oh wait, did I say what it was about? This chronicles their journey on their podcast about Buffy the Vampire Slayer and how it mirrored their lives as they were making the podcast over the course of 7 years, including they were married at the beginning of it, and then by the end they were married to different people. Slayers, Every One of Us. A book that made you happy, A River Has Roots, number 1, because of the singing. Literal joy was diffusing my being. This one, because of how funny it was, The Devils, and just like some of the character interactions, I was like giggling in glee and joy. A book I haven't talked about yet, which is Run for the Hills by Kevin Wilson. This was so heartwarming, and like the family of half siblings like doing their road trip to find their father and to find their other siblings, and just like becoming a family and becoming, even though they're literal family, they're like a found family, and they decide to love each other, and it's just so lovely. Run for the Hills. I'm going to skip this next question for now to tell you that the last question, which is books I want to read by the end of the year. I hate this question. I answered it last year, but I can't answer it this year. So I'm just going to point you to the 2 videos I have made for my reading challenges that I'm doing this year. I'm doing Buzzword, Read Harder, and the Our Fantasy Bingo challenge, and you'll find that linked below. Here are the challenges that I'm doing. And these are the books I need to read by the end of the year. Otherwise, like, obviously I need to read all of the books on my TBR. But will that happen? No. And I don't know which ones. So, look at my hair. You guys, I'm having a journey. I'm having a journey. Hi. Done fucking around my hair, okay? It's just, I'm being so vain. I think I need a haircut. Hi, Pippin. Can you say hi to everyone? Hi. And then the last question that I'm going to answer is, what are the most beautiful books that you've bought this year? Oh, wait. Why did I bring this out? Did I forget to talk about it? I think I wanted to talk about it in relation to recent releases. Yeah, I did. Bad Eater. I'm reading this for summer reading though, so you should be seeing this one from me soon. Maybe I just grabbed it. I don't know. Bad Eater. And I'm going to show you the normal versions first, and then I will show you the special edition that I just got. I have not unboxed it or hauled it yet officially for you guys, so you wouldn't have seen it yet. Although you might have seen somebody else haul it. So I realized when I reviewed The Devils, or talked about it in my wrap-up, that I never showed you my favorite part of this book. And it's the reason I'm not going to be buying special editions of it. I don't need a special edition because the normal edition is beautiful. First of all, it has deckled edges. I am a sucker for a deckled edge. I love this cover. I don't really like the UK version of it. The red with the candles is so good. And the jaw falling off is a crown. So not only is it clever, this is extremely visually pleasing to me. But then under the cover, we have this. So we've got red foiling, and it says, "The worst monsters make the best allies." And we've got a crown and we've got a skull. But this is not my favorite part. This is just a bonus. In fact, it's a little bit too much for me. I would prefer like a cleaner, less busy version, or maybe even like this skull bigger. What I really love is this. They commissioned artwork. They're made to look like medieval paintings. They used to, before the canvas was invented, they used to paint on wood. And so these are made to look like that. This is Vega. Did I mention she's a werewolf? There's my favorite character of the year right there. Look at her face. Look at her face. Also, she's 7 feet tall in her wolf form. I think she's 6 feet tall in her human form. I can't remember. It's been 2 months since I read this, so of course it's gone. This is Brother Diaz. He is a monk who is forced to work with these outcasts. And then on the other side, we have the princess, the lost princess that they are tasked with getting to Troy. And this is Sunny, who is an elf that can make herself invisible, and it's a metaphor, but you can't see her face for that reason. And I presume in the other books we're going to get the other characters. Also, all throughout the book, every time there is a new part, we get illustrations, and they are so good. Where's what's her face? This is the vampire. This is their jack of all trades, Baptiste. And this is the knight. What's his name? I don't remember his name. And that old guy at the beginning, that was Balthazar, who is a necromancer. So yeah, I love these illustrations and I love that, like, the stylized nature of this. Like, it's so good. It's so good. This is definitely like the prettiest edition of a normal book that I own from this year. Next up is, I mean, it's the regular edition, but it's also Aardvark did a special edition, and that's the Starving Saints, which I love this cover anyway. I wouldn't necessarily say it's pretty though. It's intriguing and fun to look at, but not necessarily pretty. What is pretty about this is the naked hardcover, which is honeycomb in gold foil. And I just realized last year my prettiest book of the year was also a book that had honeycomb and gold foil. So maybe I have a type. I'm also going to try and read this for Summerween. So, and then this is the prettiest special edition, which is weird because I'm not sure I'm going to like it. I almost skipped. But then I thought, no, I'm going to give it a shot because I'm like falling out of love with this author, like very slowly, and I have been. I don't know why. I used to eat up her stuff like immediately, and now I'm just like, eh. And that's Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V. Schwab. This is the Fairy Loot version of the book. It's got a quote on the back and these like roses with the thorns. I just think this is so pretty. It's so much better than the original cover, which I think is just kind of boring looking. And then it's got these thorns on the edges and then just black on the top. And I'm not a huge fan of sprayed edges anymore, but I feel like this works. It flows with the rest of the book. And then we've got this on the cover, this stylized version of the title. This is fine, but this look at this shit. Look at this shit. That is beautiful. And then there's the back cover. Oh my god, it's so pretty. Even if I don't like the book, I might keep it because it's so pretty. But that is my mid-year freakout tag. Thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far and you don't have anything else to say, please leave me, is there a bat for bat eater? Or you can leave me a rose if there's a rose. I never know what emojis are there. Or a bee for starving saints, or a devil or a wolf for the devils. Yeah, I'm gonna go cool down. I'm gonna stick my head in the refrigerator. I'm gonna mess around with my hair until, for probably about 30 minutes. And then, what am I saying? How do I end these videos? If you like the video, please don't forget to give it a like and subscribe if you want to. It really helps me out. Yeah, that's the end of this video. I cannot believe it's already July. This is an absolutely insane year of everyone's life. Here's to more happy reading. Okay, love you, bye.